Okay, hey, thanks for coming for another VOD review. It's been a while since I did one of these. Been pretty busy. My name's Trufflepops. I am a mid-Masters Peak support, currently in my throw era, so I'm mid-diamond. Do not look at my profile. I decided to main Life Weaver for some reason. And today we're going to look at a VOD review for a Silver Brig player. We see here they're on PC. Silver 3 map was on Numbani. And what I like is that this player actually already has some notes about things they want to work on, which is taking high ground, absolutely something we can look at. When to peel for support, sometimes that can be nuanced. Like you mentioned here, Ana or Zen, it's kind of more obvious what to do, but it sounds like you had a Kiriko this game. When to send health packs to tanks, also a great question and depends on what you and the enemy team are running. And when to be aggressive, I sometimes feel like I play too defensively, but then at times I feel like I'm going way too aggressive. Definitely all things we can look at and more. Looking at your team comp, you are going to want to prioritize packing the DPS, mainly your Genji when he dives in. Let's see how things play out though. I'm a skip to the first fight. Let's see. So your pretty much entire team is rotating left. Don't be afraid to bash across and go with them. Okay. You should really let your shield regen too. Lucio's coming here. Okay. So Brig's shield is a really important part of her kit, and whenever it's possible, you want to let it recharge. So there was several seconds here where, you know, you use your shield to bash, which is great. And you're out of, you're pretty much out of danger for a few seconds. And when your shield is not completely broken, it recharges pretty fast. So a great thing to do is always, in any downtime, make sure your shield is fully charged. Because what ends up happening is that this Lucio comes from behind and he breaks your shield because your shield is already less than half health. Okay. Interesting bash. Maybe you thought he was going to charge in. But I think I see... Okay, I think I see what you mean about not knowing if you're too passive or aggressive. And what I'll say for just this little fight was that, like, that bash didn't really serve a purpose. Brig can throw packs from ranges on her allies and then be kind of close to swing on enemies. Something I'll recommend is playing corners whenever possible. Playing corners like this is a great way to stay engaged because you can kind of, pop out, the friend drops a shield, throw a whip, if it's safe. It just allows you to kind of be more engaged, and you might find that you feel more impactful doing that. Another area of just how important the shield is, I know you didn't mention this as something that you wanted to work on, but I have to mention it. I have to bring it up because it actually started recharging. So it got down to like 30, or it got down to 20, and you had it down for long enough, it started to recharge a little bit, but then you put it back up again, and when you put the shield back up, it stops recharging, and that 2-second timer resets. So if you can, you want to avoid doing that. Let's see, so it's at 20. It's down enough, it reaches a little bit to 34, but then you put it back up. A little bit again to 60, you put it back up. Now it's broken. Alright. I think that was a fine rally. When... Something I like to do is when a Genji blades, I will just kind of immediately pack him. Oops. Sorry about that. Oh, I'm just realizing I also have my Brigitte Mendler overlay on, so she's here to bless you. Yeah, when Genjis dash in, or when they ult, they're immediately going to dash in. I'll throw 1, maybe even 2 packs on them. And this is an example of just the strength that high ground has. I understand not feeling comfortable going to high ground when none of your team is either, With Brig, though, you always have the option to drop from high ground. So if there's a Sombra up there, or you get low, maybe Hanzo shoots you, you can just drop. You can save some of your shield and drop. You know, you can always drop from high ground to low ground with Brig, but you can't just jump from low ground to high ground. Whenever possible, taking it if you think it could be helpful, even if you just end up dropping after a second or two. But I like that aggression into the Lucio there. Okay. Again, with the shield. I won't point it out every single time just because maybe it's a common theme. This will be the last time I just say it. Recharge your shield. If you have downtime, even if you're not contributing to the fight, it only takes a few seconds to get a full HP shield, and that's one of Brig's main assets. Okay. So that was a fine bash away. Oh man. I know why, you know, maybe when you rallied, you thought that you could bash into the Rhine. Where was your tank was dead? So I don't know if you were aware of that. What I will recommend actually for everyone, this is so huge, is if you don't already have it, have the sound played when enemy dies and sound played when ally died. When an ally dies, because that helps you kind of hear if you're up or down. Your tank is coming back on the heifer now. Something else I'm gonna say to address one of the questions you had is, do you POV your other support? Where do you go? In this comp, the priority of yours is going to be the enemy team Sombra. And if she dives one of your DPS, you or your support, then your priority would be to pack whoever she's diving. You don't have to stick with your Kiriko, mainly because she has probably the best self-peel in the game. She can TP to anyone, she can Suzu herself, she can climb walls, you can probably even just take 1v1s. And if anything, I'd say I'd have you just be on the payload. Okay. You LOS that. Oh no. You had the right idea. You had your shield up. I think the bash at the last second costed you. And I don't know if you tried to 180 bash. I think you just bashed the wall. I don't know if you want to play around with your sensitivity if you find that doing 180 bashes is hard. My sensitivity on Brig is pretty high. It's 800 DPI and the sensitivity of 8.0. But that's how I prefer it because 180 bashes are a lot easier and I don't need to really have super specific aim with Brig. To speak on you feeling either defensive or too aggressive, again, I would go back to the concept of playing angles. So here, you know, you are way back here, and if this was an Ana, that would make more sense. But again, it's a Kiri, and for Brig, you are always wanting to find some sort of hard cover. Some very conveniently exists here, or even here, or even here. Being mindful that, you know, they do have a Lucio who can just run up on you, so maybe I'd be more careful off angling alone. I might not go here in this current comp, but playing with your team around this car, absolutely a great option. Or if you even wanted to go high ground, that would work too. Oh, your Kiri's dead. I think that's kind of on her. I don't know what she was going through. I don't think she had to die there. Let me see. Oh, wait, she got ate up. That okay, so this is an example of, like, you know, maybe it would be helpful to just like try and take high ground. You're already here, you know, walking past this. So if you go up here, you could, you know, you can have here, you can play a little bit, you know, as a way to distract them. So you could throw some whip shots from here. Your team's coming from here, and you could pack them. And again, if you ever wanted to or needed to, you could just drop. In fact, that's something I might even just recommend to you in your future games, is to consciously take high ground. Don't worry about getting value. Don't worry about staying up there for a certain amount of time. Even if you just take high ground and immediately jump off, that is a step in the right direction. I would advise you to be more mindful of that.
Special delivery.
Okay, she did, yeah. She didn't need 2 packs. I have that tendency too. If someone's maybe like less than half, I throw 2. I guess because this is the very beginning of a fight, you're now down to only 1 pack, and nothing has happened yet. So you are already using a lot of resources when the fight hasn't even really started yet. Oh man. Don't be afraid to just hold down left click too. Especially with a Sombra, Brig doesn't suffer at all from, like what you're doing now. If doing that all the time, Brig doesn't get any movement penalties, unless you're trying to be sneaky, it's fine. In this enemy comp, aggressive playstyle is really going to be harmful because they have Ryan Lucio, and if you overextend even just a little bit, even though this is silver and everyone in here is silver, that's not looking good for Brig. I like your positioning here. You're not with your team, but you can see them. You're on the opposite high ground as them. I like that. You can't do anything about that junk. Oh my god. She almost got up here. Packer! Oh my god. Okay. That's an example of when you don't need to be dropping down from the high ground at all. So you were up there, and I think the Mei tried to climb up, and I think you dropped down wanting to, swing on people and help your team. Curious why you didn't play Mercy here. I respect the Brig. I think any character can work in any game. But with their current comp, you really can't be close to them. So you're up here. This is great positioning. You have, I think, so you have 2 packs. But then you dropped. If you stayed up here, you could have packed your Kiri. You could have landed some whip shots. But then you did die. Be mindful when you drop from high ground. This would be a time when it would have been great to stay up there. If you stayed up there, I think you would be alive. I don't even think anyone would have fired a shot at you. Mei wasted wall trying to get to you. She's obsessed. Nice. You didn't even have to bash off. You whipped the Reaper off high ground, I think. It looked like he was that trajectory. He was going off high ground. Yeah, have faith in yourself. If you missed the whip up, then yeah, bash. But you landed it. I mean, yeah, he's gonna TP anyway. But he's using a cooldown for that. I would say I would have advised you again to be more mindful about when you drop, because it looks like you just dropped into the thick of it. But let's see what happens. Oh god, oh no. Brig needs Mozambique, and that wouldn't have happened. Couple times first point where high ground really would have helped you a lot. Actually, let me reread what your concern was. Taking high ground, utilize, problem is not using it effectively or not using when to use it effectively. Okay. To answer that when part, I would call back to what I said earlier. Take it whenever there is high ground. Don't even focus on utilizing it. Just get into that habit of resetting, especially after a team fight. Some people just when they're waiting for the enemy to come back, they kind of just stand still, always rotating, resetting to high ground. And the effectiveness, that's just gonna come. I don't know how to say. It's like you have that kind of game sense. Comes with VOD reviews like this. And honestly, my guess is if you watched this VOD review yourself, you could probably tell this too. I don't think you need, me or any other high-ranked player necessarily to tell you all these things. Okay.
I can protect you. Come over here if you want to. Barrier's not in good shape.
I know I said I wasn't gonna say it again, but I must. I think if you let your shield recharge as much as you can, that alone, take away everything else I'm saying, that alone is gonna help you so much. Because right now you have no shield, and a Reaper's on top of you, jumping with ults. You have bash. You could bash away from this, but then it would just immediately break. Oh my god. I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm my first time watching this. Okay. Oh no, now you don't have bash. You don't have bash and you are in the open. You made it to the door somehow. Okay.
Let me help you with that.
Do not count on that happening every time. Get some packs on that. Nice. That was nice. That's totally fine. I think you played that really well. You rallied, you packed your Genji, and then it kind of looks like you kind of just threw packs in the fray, but they were they were pretty low and you had rally. Good. Do not boop him. Oh my god. Okay. In general, you don't want to boop Reaper ults, you don't want to boop Bob. Other things maybe I can't think of off the top of my head. The reason is that you might just boop them into someone. Unless you know the boop is going to kill them. It's best to avoid that. Good. That's great bashing out of Blizzard. And that was the correct choice to throw the pack on that Mauga. So yeah, I guess I'll speak a little bit about that now is with Kiri, so Kiri is going to be main healing as much as possible. You want her to be healing the Mauga. But in times like this where you maybe like you have one pack and multiple people need healing, you want to throw the pack on the person who is in the most danger. A lot of times that isn't the tank because all tanks have some sort of, damage mitigation, cooldown, or ability. And so, when in doubt, choose a DPS. But here, many people were low. You threw the pack on your Mauga, and I think it actually helped him a lot. That was the correct choice because there's a Reaper like in his face. So, yeah, and you saved him. You saved the Mauga with that pack. That was good. I approve of that. I haven't been keeping my eyes out too much. Oh yes, okay. I'm glad you did that. I'm glad you did that bash jump because I love doing that on a Numbani. It's not game changing, but look, like you got line of sight like this, and you're kind of on high ground now. I'm glad you did that. You can even do that without jumping off the payload, just from the ground. Again, this is oh, it's difficult to give really specific Brig advice for this game because their comp is gonna make it difficult, really difficult for anyone. You're trying to whip the Pharah, and that's good. You are you're trying to play more back for your life. That's good too.
Sending care your way.
Oh no. Oh no. Yes, yes. Oh. Did you try to bash? I feel like there was enough time. I feel like there was enough time to bash the Reaper because you did that really well. Okay. You rally. Good. You get bash back. Oh, you did. You did have enough time. And you jumped. Oh my goodness. Okay. Rhine, Shatter, you probably know this, and maybe jumping is just a bad habit. When Brig jumps, her toes stick underneath her shield, and she does get hit by Rhine Shatter. And I think other things too. She might get hit by Diva Bomb. But you play that so well, except for jumping. And actually, instead of jumping, if you bash the Reaper, which you could have, because, we see here... let me see. So yeah, you get good swings on the Reaper. Then you rally. And then, in the rally animation, you like all this red here. All your cooldowns are red because you're kind of in that animation. But... So Rhine Shattering, now they go... they're white now. Like the cooldowns are available. You can bash. What I do in this situation when I'm in it, like I'm ulting in a Reaper space and I want to stun as soon as possible, is with my shield up, I'll just be spamming left click so that bash comes out as soon as possible. If you did that, then your feet would be on the ground. The Reaper would die. He's very low and he can't do anything in that when he's ulting, and he wouldn't have been shattered. So try to jump as little as possible on Brig. It can be a bad habit. I mean, I can't think of a time where jumping like saved my life as Brig. Just jumping in place, not even onto something. So something to think about is don't jump. Yeah, he would have died there. Would have been beautiful. He better die. Oh my god, he doesn't.
Fire.
Oh man. That's an example of when an entire fight could have turned out differently. I think the like concept of like, oh, learn how to carry as any character is a little skewed because I don't think you carry games by, just outperforming everyone all of the time, but I think you carry games by carrying fights or carrying interactions. This is an example of when you could have carried one pretty well. Not to say that would have changed the tide of the game, maybe you still would have lost, but this is one of those things that could have had a pretty big impact.
Big stanger left. You will be renewed.
I like the skin. I didn't get it, but I wish I did.
Cure for all the days.
Nice.
Eyes open now.
I like the Moira. I think, like I said, Brig is so hard into this comp for anyone, any rank. Yeah, great playing that corner. Brian made it so obvious. Only look at the Pharah. Chase her down. Good. I think it's fine you went after the Pharah. No one else on your team is. You don't have any hit scans. I'm glad you threw a healing orb there. Wasn't enough though. All of that being seen now, let's go back to your notes. And actually, before I get into this, one thing I'll just mention is that Brig was a really tough pick there, and I wonder if you intentionally just wanted to stay Brig as much as possible. If so, again, I respect that. If you value mastering a hero, then that makes a lot of sense. If you value winning, then you swapping is what makes sense. Both of those are fine values. I wonder what yours was. I do think if you swapped earlier, even to Mercy, or because that you said you mean Mercy too, that I think the game probably would have gone in your favor. But if winning isn't the value, it doesn't always have to be, then disregard that. So your first point, taking high ground. High rank Brigs utilize high ground very well, but I find myself not using it effectively or not knowing when to use high ground effectively. And like I pointed out, there were times you did have high ground and you seemed to drop, and it's kind of like it's a funny habit that some soldiers have, mostly low ranks, but across kind of all ranks, is they'll be on high ground, they'll visor, and then they'll just drop. When you were defending first point, you had a really good high ground advantage. You don't always have to be landing swings on people as Brig. You don't have to be landing whip shot. Inspire is great. It's not more important than you staying alive. What I'd recommend, again, I said this a little earlier, is just being aware of dropping and to choose to drop. That might sound a little strange, but I think when you drop from high ground, sometimes it's done automatically without really putting much mindful thought into it. A lot of times it is the right choice. And so what I'd say to you in your future games is try to, oh, a few things are falling. Try to be more, intentional about when you choose to drop. And when you take high ground, what I'd suggest is take it whenever possible, whenever, you're coming back from spawn or you just won the team fight and you're waiting for the enemies to come back. Take it, even if you end up dropping, whether you do that mindfully or not, it's going to get that habit built up. So next, when to peel for supports. This probably wasn't the best, game to be an example of that. There were a couple times when your Kiri was, in the back, or I think there was once when she just got ate up by a Sombra so quickly. Don't really know if you could have even reacted to that. But Kiri generally is someone who you don't really have to peel too much for. Like you said, Ana, Zen are probably going to be the main ones who you do peel for just because they're the most vulnerable in the back line. But with your comp, you could have been more up in the front. And then next, when to send health packs to tanks. What I'll reiterate is that if there's a tank and a DPS in front of me, they're both critical health, and that's all the information I have, I'm going to pack the DPS just because they have less things to keep them alive. But when looking at, like when that blizzard was freezing everyone and you had one pack and you packed the Mauga, that was the right choice because he was the one like in the front lines. Reaper was just on him and you ended up saving him there. So kind of looking to see, okay, I have one pack, there's a lot of teammates who need help, who is in the most danger, and then having that inform you when to be aggressive. I sometimes feel like I play too defensively, but then at times I'm too aggressive. So yeah, when to be aggressive, never in this game, just because of their team comp. You would have been feeding quite a bit if you were that aggressive. And because of the nature of this team comp, it's kind of like there isn't a great way to play Brig. I think you when you were on Brig, the the aggressiveness versus defensiveness was not even really anything that stuck out to me as being an issue, except those few instances where you seem to bash away when you weren't in any danger. And what I'll say is, in future games, when you have comps that Brig is good into, to play those hard angles, play the angles, excuse me, play the angles, play the hard cover. Also, I'm gonna add in a couple things. Let your shield regen, please, please let your shield regen. That's gonna help you so much. Like again, if you were to take away anything from this, I would say let your shield recharge. Don't jump because a lot of times it's just a bad habit that can get you shattered when you played that interaction right. It's just that jump screw things over for you. Okay. Other than that, you said that you want to get out of silver for good. Yeah, and you can. I do believe that you can make it out of silver for good, but okay. Seeing that like that's kind of your goal then, I would also say don't be afraid to swap off of Brig. Sometimes a bad habit I have is that I almost tunnel vision of, swapping isn't even on my radar. Like I'm playing Brig, okay, I guess I'm playing Brig for this entire match. And that is not going to help me win most games, and it won't help you either. Experimenting with Brig can be helpful too. I don't know if you have this. One thing that was on my mind usually is I felt like I would miss whip shots when they mattered the most, and I would be so hard on myself for that. And what I ended up doing is I went to quick play. I wouldn't do this in comp, but I actually unbounded my whip shot altogether. Shift did not do anything, so I could only really damage people up close. And what that taught me was to rely on other things like shield bash for positioning, swinging, using hard cover, and it kind of like forced me to not even have that whip shot. And I don't do that all the time, but when that was an issue for me, it helped. If you can relate to that, try that out in quick play as well. Overall, looked like a pretty close game, especially after you swapped. You can do it. You can absolutely get out of silver. You can probably even push through gold, honestly, if I'm speaking from the heart. Stick with it though, and I'll see you in my lobby soon. I say that as if I'm like high ranked.